we all move up a little closer so we can
get warmer down there. Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Thank you so much for coming. And it's nice that we have a fairly balmy night here, and but it's a very, very wonderful occasion. And very glad that you could be here. I'd like to start us off with a song, and it's one we have often sung here as we commemorate Kristallnacht. It should be in your programs on the first page. It's called "I Still Believe," written by a cantor named Marshall Portnoy, and he sort of imagines the thoughts of Anne Frank as she stayed in her apartment hiding from the Nazis for many years, and expresses her feelings of both sadness and loneliness and fear, but also her feelings of hope. I think those are two feelings that all of us can share tonight as we think of what happened on Kristallnacht, that we assemble together with hope for the future, called I Still Believe. Shining stars and cloudless skies of blue, through the window crack I see you, and I long to run and touch the sun. Dear diary, what else can I do? Growing up, longing for a friend, hoping that our secret life will end in words of light written in the night. My thoughts and hopes and dreams I to you I send. I still believe, in spite of everything, that people really are good at heart, and the skies will be bright, and it will all come right, and the springtime of peace will start. Dreaming of the precious air of freedom, waking and I feel like crying. There's no place to go, but still I know skies are clearing, birds are flying. Happiness and love that I can share in a world of truth and beauty. And wonders near, and when I fear, a light of morning dawn will come to me. I still believe, in spite of everything, that people really are good at heart, and the skies will be bright, and it will all come right, and the springtime of peace will start. And the skies will be bright, and it will all come right, and the springtime of peace will start. I'm sorry.
Welcome. On behalf of Bedford's Jewish community and Bedford's faith communities and all of you gathered here, I welcome you to our annual Kristallnacht commemoration. I am Reverend Annie Gonzalez, the Minister of Faith Development here at First Parish in Bedford. And I also bring greetings from Reverend Wendy Bell, our Senior Interim Minister, who is in our Parish Council meeting this evening. I'm grateful for this opportunity to be back out here on the Common instead of virtual as we were last year. Grateful to be here with Rabbi Susan Abramson, even as I always wish that this event were less relevant to the times we live in today. The act of remembering is an important part of spiritual and communal practice. When we remember history together as a people, we are making meaning of these events of the past and of events in our own time and place.
Our task tonight is to remember well and vow not to repeat history. This is the 83rd anniversary of Kristallnacht, the night of broken glass, when in Germany on that night in 1938, Nazi stormtroopers disguised in plain clothes broke Jewish store windows, desecrated temples, and sowed the fear that would produce the Holocaust. We are all too cognizant of how easy it is to become the victim of hatred, prejudice, and oppression. During Kristallnacht, 7,500 Jewish businesses were destroyed. 275 synagogues were razed or burned, and 30,000 Jews were arrested. 100 Jews died. The majority of those who were arrested were sent to the German concentration camps and were killed. Out of the horrors of the Holocaust, the term crime against humanity was coined. During that dark era, the evil against our own humankind was ruthless in scope, methodical in execution, and perfectly calculated in its devastation. As such, tonight's commemoration of Kristallnacht must be viewed as both a memorial, a warning, and a promise. As we stand here together tonight to remember the night of broken glass, to stand in solidarity as Jews and as loving neighbors of Jews, we vow to stand up against hatred towards any group who faces intolerance, because we know that bigotry and hatred sow seeds when no one pulls them up from the source. The world is not at peace. Our country is not at peace. Our hearts are not at peace. And so we gather in solidarity tonight. We know too well what transpires when hatred is left unchecked. Tonight we remember the past and ponder the present. We will speak the names of those who died. No people anywhere in any era should live in fear. And it's not just the past that we remember tonight, but it is the present. It's also the third anniversary, just a little past the third anniversary of the Pittsburgh shootings at the Tree of Life Synagogue. And just a couple of weeks ago, a synagogue was torched and burned in Austin, Texas. We vow to face our conscience and do our best as allies to all who face persecution. I'd like to invite Phyllis Landman from the Bedford Jewish community to do a reading.
This is a poem called Holocaust by Barbara Sonic. We played, we laughed, we were loved, we were ripped from the arms of our parents and thrown into the fire. We were nothing more than children. We had a future. We were going to be lawyers, rabbis, wives, teachers, mothers. We had dreams, then we had no hope. We were taken away in the dead of night, like cattle in cars, no air to breathe. Smothering, crying, starving, dying. Separated from the world to be no more. From the ashes, hear our plea. This atrocity to mankind cannot happen again. Remember us, for we were the children whose dreams and lives were stolen away.
Are we back?
Yes.
Ah! Mind the button, everyone.
In the years since the Holocaust, historians recorded many survivors' personal stories. Here is an excerpt from the Graz College Holocaust Oral History Archive. Inga Caro was born in Essen, Germany in 1926 and emigrated to the U.S. in 1939. As you know from newsreels, the Nazis had terrific propaganda. They had a lot of pageantry and flags and banners, and the youth organizations had nice uniforms. On the one hand, I knew that they were persecuting the Jews. On the other hand, it was all so appealing that I was really very sad that I could not belong to the Nazi youth organization and that I couldn't take part in the parades and in the pageantry and the ceremonies. The propaganda was so great and so glamorous and so attractive, like all the children's stories being published about the wonderful things they did at the youth camps, so that if you were so indoctrinated by this, even as a Jewish child, that I think if I hadn't been Jewish, I am sure that I would have joined.
Martin Niemöller was an ardent nationalist and prominent Protestant pastor who emerged as an outspoken public foe of Adolf Hitler and spent the last 7 years of Nazi rule in concentration camps. Niemöller is perhaps best remembered for this poem. In Germany, they first came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for the Catholics, and I did not speak up because I was a Protestant. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me.
Now please join me in the singing of the hymn, Comfort Me. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. comfort me, oh my soul.
Tears of crystal, tears of broken glass. My tears are crystal and broken glass. They sparkle, they cut, they heal, they wound. They are daybreak and midnight, hymn and dirge, joyous celebration and lonely mourning. My tears catch your divine light, prisms casting colors across my days and on my hands. I pray to hold them gently, with dignity, with honor. I am one of your children, one of those you love, comforted knowing that I, too, am one for whom you cry tears of crystal, tears of broken glass.
Ladies and gentlemen, I represent the VA, as you know, our local VA, and the Boston healthcare system. On Thursday, Veterans Day will be here. And how many veterans, especially those great gentlemen who most of whom are now lying dormant in cemeteries, how many of those helped to liberate the concentration camps? We honor them, we memorialize them at this time, as well as the millions of people, of Jewish people, who were destroyed by the Nazis. And so, in the rising of the sun and in its going down, we remember them. In the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we remember them. In the opening of buds and in the rebirth of spring, we remember them. In the blueness of the sky and in the warmth of summer, we remember them. In the rustling of leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we remember them. In the beginning of the year and when it ends, we remember them. And when we have joys we yearn to share, we will remember them. When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember them. When we are lost and sick at heart, we remember them. And when we have joys again as we yearn to share, we remember them. So long as we live, they too shall live. For they are now a part of us as we remember them.
And now, as we prepare to recite the Kaddish prayer, which is the traditional Jewish prayer that we recite for those who have died, I'd like to, as I look around the crowd, you may say the names aloud of anyone in particular who you would like us to remember in your hearts and in our minds at this moment. Anybody who was killed in the Holocaust, anyone who fought to free the people from concentration camps, who served in the wars, and anybody else who, it doesn't even need to be a particular name, it can just be a group of people who you would like us to remember. So as I look around, as I point in your direction, feel free to say a name out loud.
Three of my great-grandparents, Moishe, Pius Stool, and lots of orange trees.
Thank you. And if anybody else has relatives who were killed, then feel free to say their names or their connections.
Behind you.
Yeah, Dora Abramson and family, they were killed. It was my grandfather's sister and her family. she was married, and the children too were all perished.
David Sofer died at D-Day.
My grandparents were Gertrude and Cecile Hatchman.
Okay, we remember all of them, and all of them who we didn't know personally, but we feel a personal connection with, as we now recite the Kaddish prayer, a prayer praising life, that despite, no matter what tragedies we've gone through, we still keep our faith in God and our hope for the future. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shmei rabbah, b'alma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei b'chol Beit Yisrael, v'agala u'bizman kariv v'yimru amen. Yehei shmei rabbah v'barach le'olam le'omei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitalel v'yitalal shmei d'kudusha b'richu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushvachata v'nechamata, damiran v'yalma v'yimru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, uyaseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. May the source of peace and peace to all who mourn, as we say together.
Amen.
Amen. We don't have the candles, but
We don't have the candles. But you know that song, This Little Light of
Oh, does
Mine,
every-
I'm gonna let it shine.
oh, everybody has
They're
their.
coming.
Oh, we do?
Yeah, we're distributing.
I was gonna do a whole metaphorical candle.
Okay, good. And now you can,
Oh, because we don't have the candle?
because we do.
Oh, we do, yeah.
Do we have the matches?
Get it later.
Oh, okay.
All we need is one, and then we can just go down the line.
Can I just say something?
Please.
While this is happening, I just wanted to thank members of the Bedford clergy and friends and members of the Jewish community for joining us this evening. It's always a very special event when the clergy from the interfaith community can get together to show their solidarity at times like this. And I also wanted to thank Chief Bongiorno for being here as well, representing the police. And I think about the significance of that, because in 1938, the police stood by and did nothing while Jewish homes, businesses, and synagogues were ransacked. But if that, God forbid, were ever to move in that direction today, we know that the police would have a very different relationship and be very supportive and protective of all of us. So thank you for being here, and thank you to the clergy. There are quite a few people here, so it's taking a little while, but I also wanted to mention that this is being live streamed on Facebook right now, and Bedford Cable Access is also here recording this. So if you know people who weren't able to be here, it will be on my Facebook page, and I'll also be uploading it to my YouTube channel, Spiritually Speaking, later this evening.
A light in the darkness, raising our candles, we wish for peace. From Elie Wiesel, we learn the opposite of love is not hate, it is indifference. The opposite of art is not ugliness. It is indifference. The opposite of faith is not heresy. It is indifference. And the opposite of life is not death. It is indifference. We will close by making a wish for peace tonight as we each breathe our own wishes now into these flames. Together, we spread our light in the darkness. Look around at all this hope and solidarity. This is the opposite of indifference. This is love and respect made visible.
And now I hope you will join me in our final closing song, which is a wish from all of us, a wish for our greatest gift of peace. This is called Let There Be Peace. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God our Creator, peacemakers we will be. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my solemn vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
And let's raise our candles and make a wish for peace and hope, and then we can blow them out.
Doesn't work with the mask on.
Shalom, salam, shanti, peace.
Peace.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Yes, and thank you to Ben Silver for leading us. in all the
Yes,
music
thank
this
you,
evening.
Ben.
Amen.
Thank you.